Yeah, guys, before we do that, I want to remind everybody about Buckeye State Credit Union. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local institution offering everything from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans with some of the lowest rates in the Northeast Ohio. Their Cleveland branch is in Shaker Heights, which is one of 5 locations across the state, making it super easy to find one near you. If you can't get to a branch, no problem. They make it super easy with digital banking. What sets them apart? They make banking personal and convenient. At Buckeye, their focus is you. Their core values, connect, simply, adapt, guide everything that you do. They bring people together, cut through the clutter, and are innovative. To learn more, visit buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union. Your money simplified.
All right, this is a great topic. We touched on it a little bit ago. I just teased it to make sure that you guys stuck around to listen to it because it's going to be fascinating. So Jimmy Haslam sells the Browns to Paul Dolan. Mm-hmm. And part of the deal is Haslam's going to bring his crew, J-Dub, the boys, the group. They're going to go to the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. And Dolan's going to bring his brain trust, his crew, Journey,
vote,
and they're going to Brook Park or whenever this deal happens. Mm-hmm. They're going to Cleveland Brown Stadium. What happens? Who wins first?
Believe it or not, even though I think he's an absolutely horrendous owner, I'm going to say the Guardians because money talks in baseball to some degree, right? It's not you could spend a lot of money and still lose. You could be a bad team.
He's doing that now.
Exactly. But in baseball, he would have one of the 5-8 highest payrolls in the league, I assume. And that's a big advantage. And not that all those teams do well, but many of them do.
He could be the Mets.
And the biggest caveat here is Paul DePodesta actually knows baseball. Now,
I didn't think about that angle.
You could argue that he was overrated in baseball.
He was.
Fair.
Yeah.
But he knows baseball better than football.
Yeah, he did. Does he still?
I mean, he was if nothing else.
He never won anything.
No, but he was an adequate executive in baseball. In football,
he was most noteworthy for Moneyball.
Yes.
That's it. He's still riding that reputation.
Right. But he wasn't you wouldn't look at him as terrible. Yes, he ultimately didn't win anything, but he was I would say an adequate MLB executive.
Only a few of his teams made the playoffs.
Right. But his football, so far he's been horrible at football. So
that much we'll agree on.
I think the money would give you the edge if they switched. And Dolan. Now, listen, you have to spend a certain amount, right? Mm-hmm. Mike Brown is considered a cheap owner in Cincinnati, but he still actually he's been a middle-of-the-pack spender in terms of actual money spent this decade. So I think Dolan would be kind of like a Mike Brown really he would be exactly like, he's the Mike Brown of baseball. He hires people and lets them, he kind of stays out of their way. Mike Brown lets the coaches
good people, too.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part. But he doesn't go over the top to spend in general.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, I think, so that's why I go with the Guardians.
Okay. I'm going with the Guardians too to win the World Series first over the Browns winning the Super Bowl. I think for those very reasons, you got Paul DePodesta and you got Andrew Berry, analytic guys sitting in your front office. You got Jimmy Haslam, who's going to spend whatever it takes to have a competent pitching staff and a competent roster, and everybody knows he loves big names. And then you got Kevin Stefanski, who's going to be coaching everybody. Everybody loves coach. Yeah. 2-time coach of the year, so I think they'll get it done. And then you just flip it around on the other side. I guess the Dolans will be able to spend enough. I would trust Chris Antonetti and his guys to draft the right players, unlike the Browns. Now they'll drive good players that don't have big names. We like names on the Browns, right?
Sure.
We got to go get the big names.
Yeah, we need OBJ. Bring him back now. The streets would go nuts if we brought him back today.
The Browns will have a whole bunch of players. We'd be like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
But they'll be good every week, just not good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So
wow, I'm disappointed in you guys. You got this wrong.
Oh.
What?
Oh, yeah, you both got it wrong.
All right, I want to hear this.
And I kind of thought that you were first were going to go where I went.
No.
By the way, the DePodesta line, that actually would keep the Guardians from winning. He does know baseball, but he never won when he was in baseball. So it's not like you can say this guy won 4 World Series and now he's back in his spot. No, he was a middling general manager who, if you look at his career record, is right around 500. Mm-hmm. He had a couple of teams make the postseason. He rose to fame because he was a part of one of the most farcical movies ever made. in Moneyball.
Yeah, well.
Moneyball cracked me up. When I watched Moneyball with one of our producers at ESPN because we were gonna do a big thing on the movie, and I just when the credits rolled, I'm like, this was fiction. This was a
Great movie though.
It was a great movie.
Yeah.
I loved the movie from an entertainment standpoint.
Yeah.
But when you watched it, they made you think that Scott Hatteberg was the hero of the A's and carried them to the playoff. No, he had a big hit, but he was what we thought he was.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Did they ever mention Miguel Tejada in the movie?
They showed him once.
They showed his jersey on the back.
No, they
Tejada.
actually showed the real Miguel Tejada once in like a scene where they were showing the team play.
Yeah, and guess what?
But they never mentioned him.
He was an MVP.
They mentioned Eric Chavez one time.
What about the starting
and
pitchers?
The three aces
who were
never
unbelievable, 20-game
never
winners.
Even mentioned.
Never mentioned.
No, it's just crazy.
So what they made, this is why that movie was so popular. That movie was so popular because it crossed into first of all, they got Brad Pitt in it. So now women are going to go see it.
Yeah.
A lot of women saw that movie. I watched it again with my wife, and you know what she said? When it was over, I didn't poison the soup at all. I didn't tell her that it was a joke and that it was one of the worst movies factually ever made. I told her when it was all I said, "What'd you think?" She goes, "Man, what a story. That's a story everybody can cheer about." It's like they kind of reinvented the game, and they did it with a guy that nobody heard of at first base, and he was kind of a middling guy, but he walked a lot. He had a good eye at home plate. Like they kind of figured a new way to peel the potato. And I'm just going, yeah, but can I tell you some things that they didn't tell you in the movie that will change your opinion? She's like, yeah. I said, they had three of the best pitchers in baseball. They had a shortstop who was an MVP. And Scott Hatteberg was, he was mad before. Now, they used the Hollywood music and build up of the big moment. And, oh, my God, he came through. And then, ultimately, they didn't win anything. They made the playoffs. And they overachieved. And they were on the cutting edge, the front edge of the analytic wave. And they did change baseball.
Absolutely. And we know now that a lot of the newer statistics are a more accurate definer of how good a player is.
1,000%. And what they were relying on in that movie, analytics has since kind of said, not that big of a deal. You know, we have since said the numbers that like OPS and how much you walk and your eye at the plate, all very important stuff. But now, what's everybody talking about now? Launch angle. They're talking about exit velocity. They're talking about all these different forms of analytics.
Yeah, OPS is still getting talked about.
OPS is still big.
Yeah.
You know that? No, and listen, that was the big one that came out of that. But my point to all of this was, at the end of the movie, this was my favorite part. Although Paul DePodesta and the Billy Beane and the Oakland A's never managed to win a World Series employing Moneyball, Theo Epstein and the Boston Red Sox, just a few years later, employing the same tactics, won the World Series, breaking this long drought. So that led all of the casual fans to go, "Oh my God, it works!"
Right.
No,
they ignored the payroll.
What they didn't tell us was, they had a $200 million payroll.
Right.
So they bought that championship with great players employing analytics. Yeah. So the whole Moneyball movie, trash to me. The whole Paul DePodesta is a god, trash to me. The whole idea that you would hire a genius, which he wasn't, from one sport and think that he can become a genius in another sport is absolutely the most dumbass thing I've ever seen an owner do in the history of owners. And Jerry Jones has done a lot of dumb things.
Yes.
But that move, and by the way, then you don't have the vision to realize as you're changing regimes over and over and over again, you keep one guy, the baseball guy. The football guys come and go. GMs, head coaches, let's keep the baseball guy. He was in Moneyball. That was a great movie. Jimmy bought the movie too.
He did.
So
is it the movie you don't like, or just
it's the movie?
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out a couple
just
things
making
here.
Sure.
But it's the seedlings that the movie dropped. That the Paul DePodesta's a genius. No, he's not. Yeah. He wasn't in baseball, and he certainly isn't in football. He doesn't live here. He's not invested. He's the man behind the curtain. No one even knows what he does. Go ask someone at the Browns, what does Paul DePodesta do? Who is the final voice in the organization? I don't know.
You know why I'm laughing? Because every time Paul DePodesta comes up, he gets pissed off.
Listen, because he is the reason we've had a decade of trash.
He said it ain't Andrew Berry, it's him.
It is him.
I get it.
Because you know what? Andrew Berry didn't get a fair shake.
Yeah.
For all we know, Andrew Berry said, no, we can't draft this guy. And Paul DePodesta said, oh, no, I got a formula right here. This is the way to do it.
I don't buy that, but and I get what you're saying. It's all fair criticism. But what about? So why do you think ultimately?
So here's why I think.
Or the Browns would
Yeah,
win.
you said the Browns would win the Super Bowl.
Paul Dolan doesn't spend money because he doesn't make money. His team doesn't make money. Baseball and their revenue sharing is it's in another world. That's why you have to
spend more than he does.
Of course. Now listen, this is going to make it sound like I'm giving him a pass. I'm not. I just beat him up, and I'm going to continue to beat him up. What I'm saying is, Paul was a lawyer. Larry was these guys got their money from being lawyers.
Yeah.
They're not independently wealthy. They're not oil men like Jerry Jones or truck stop guys like Jimmy Haslam. They're just, hey, I'm a big baseball fan. I'd love to, scrounge up a couple of million and invest in a ball club. And that's what they did. So because he's not bringing money in like the NFL teams do, he can only spend what he has. When I tell you that during COVID, I don't know this for sure. No one's ever told me. Just what I witnessed, this guy was operating month to month financially. He was like, he didn't have a big cash reserve. I'd heard stories that the commissioner at Major League Baseball and others at Major League Baseball were disappointed in not just the Guardians, but some other small market teams that didn't have an emergency reserve fund that they all want their teams to keep in case a pandemic that no one sees coming hits the league and cripples it. So that took all of the life out of the sails of Dolan. What did he do right after that? He sold the team. He's still the owner for now, but he made the deal to let's get removed from COVID. The new owner will take over a little bit more every year until he's the primary owner. Paul found out that it's nice owning a baseball team, but he doesn't have the money to own a baseball team. So he just spends what he's able to bring in through his smaller than average TV contract and his smaller than average gate. Because both it's dual revenue source. Income from your TV deals and income from your attendance. And they're well below average in both. That's why they're well below average in spending. In the NFL, their pie gets cut 32 ways. First of all, everybody sells out everything, so that's even. The national contracts, what's the number? I'm going to just for fun here. I'm going to say it's not, but I'm going to say it's $32 billion. Oh, $32 billion divided by 32, you get $1 billion, you get $1 billion, you get $1 billion, everybody gets $1 billion. That's why they're spending caps. Which team has spent more money in the last 5 years than any team in pro football?
The Browns.
Which team has fewer wins than any other team in pro football?
The Browns.
Okay, I bring that up to say this. They are spending money, and they are losing. They're spending more than everybody else, and they're losing. So why do I think when they go to baseball and spend, they won't be the biggest spenders in baseball. No one's going to outspend the Dodgers and the Yankees. Let's just say that they're top 5 in spending. Well, right now they're number 1, but number 32 where it counts. So now in baseball, they're going to be number 5. Why do I think they're going to be number 1 where it counts? I don't trust the trust. I don't trust the decision makers over there, the J-Dubs, the Jimmy Haslams, the Paul DePodestas. You know who in this town I trust? Chernoff. Antonetti. Now,
I've lost some faith in them, to be honest.
You're not going to hit 1,000. Nobody does.
But, you don't get to ride on your old years forever.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You're as good as your last group of players.
Yeah.
Jason brought up a great point when you weren't here. I think it was last week. He said, go back and read. When we had the best farm system in baseball 10 years ago, go back and read our top 15 prospects. He did. Bull, they're all gone.
Yeah.
None of them hit.
Well, we talked about it on the show, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even go back 3 years ago.
Yeah.
None of those guys have done anything.
None of them hit.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you, okay?
Yeah.
I am absolutely with you on this. You're only as good as your last crop, and their last crops have been bad. They sat on a decision with, is it Arias? Is it Rocchio? They're too good. We're not going to move anybody. Guess what? None of them were any good. Now you're stuck with all of them.
We got nothing for Lindor.
We got nothing for Lindor.
Nothing.
Remember this comment from the owner? we're going to spend that money somewhere else.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Nope.
Your payroll's gone down every year since
You got
then.
the biggest discount in the history of the sport on Jose Ramirez, and what have you done with it?
100%. Nobody gives that discount in pro sports.
No.
Nobody. He took $90 million less. A rumored
Easy.
$90 million less than what the Blue Jays were offering because he loves playing here. And you know how you know what they did to him? Slapped him in the face because they lied to him. They said that they were going to spend and they were going to build up a roster around him. They've given him nothing. When I watch their games right now, I'm like, well, only 8 more hitters till Jose comes up again.
I don't know why they'd ever pitch to him.
I don't either. I don't either. I'd walk him every time.
Yeah.
I'd walk him every time. He's the only guy that can hurt you.
Yeah,
on
that's
a
it.
consistent basis.
Yeah.
Quan's a good base hitter.
Yeah.
He hits for average. But Manzardo strikes out too much.
Listen, I'll give you this. You make a convincing argument.
Okay.
I ultimately don't know if either team would win. But
I don't either. I don't either. But here's what I say.
Yeah.
Give me the smart front office every time. You know who's got a smart front office right now? The Kansas City Chiefs. You know who had the smartest front office that I'd ever seen? The New England Patriots.
But the Eagles also have very
The Eagles
smart.
are brilliant right now. They've parlayed that into championships. The Guardians, for what they spend, are considered overachievers. The Browns, for what they spend, are not just underachievers. They're the most woeful underachiever in the NFL.
Maybe in the history
How
of the
do you
NFL.
spend the most but win the least?
It's crazy.
That's oxymoronic.
By
to
the
me.
way, I'll throw a grenade in here at the last second. I think the best would be is if Dan Gilbert owned the Guardians.
Listen, so
yeah,
my
facts,
last point on this was going to be,
Yeah.
now, all that we parsed that out, if Dan Gilbert owned the Browns and the Guardians,
Yeah.
I would predict a Super Bowl in 5 years for the Browns and a World Series in 5
Especially
years
now
for the
because
Guardians.
he's less of a meddler now.
He's a
so-
spender now.
Yeah.
He's a spender and he gets out of the way, which is the winning formula. And
Yeah.
but my point on Dolan is, it's not that Dolan's cheap. Dolan doesn't have it. Like, we keep
I think
beating
he
him
has.
up.
He could spend more than he's spending now.
Well, liquid assets.
Yeah.
He's the poorest owner in pro sports.
Well, then immediately sell the team. It's
Well,
unfair to the fan base.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
He did. At least he sold the team, and there's a timeline for when he'll be out.
Seems like it's been forever.
I think it was 7 years. I got to go back and look at that story. I think when it happened
If
in
it's going to be
19
Blitzer's team, why isn't he spending money? Let's go.
Well, here's the thing. When you're a minority owner, you go to dinner and you pick up part of the check, but you really don't get to eat the meal.
No,
and
not at all.
That's the last thing in the world you want to be as a minority owner.
Right.
Because you're not making any of the end decisions.
Why wouldn't he say to Dolan, hey, listen, let's go get some other players. I'll give you the money.
He might be, but
Yeah.
well, see, he's not going to pick up 100% of the bills. He's going to, if he owns 45% of the team, he's going to pay 45% of the expenses.
True. He wants to get the
Here's
credit
the problem.
when he comes in.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And Paul Dolan can't spend 55% of the expenses. He doesn't have it.
Nah, well.
So I don't kill him for not I've met Paul Dolan.
Yeah.
He's a really good person. He's a good guy. Like, I wanted to not like him because I don't like the way he runs his team. But when I met him, I'm like, you can't help but like this guy. He's quiet. He's unassuming. He's humble. He's courteous. He's all the things that you want anybody to be. And I can't kill him because he doesn't have the money. If he ran the Browns, he would have the money because they are so much more cash fluid in the NFL than they are in the small markets.
couldn't afford
in
the
Major League
Browns.
Baseball.
So let me ask you this.
No,
because-
he couldn't.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this.
But this was a dream scenario.
Yeah.
Me and the guys had this conversation upstairs, and this may tie into this conversation or not. When you say he don't have the money, what I wish would have happened 5 years ago, that the city officials and the owners of these teams came together and had a much better plan in place than what has taken place in the city of Cleveland
Plan
the
for
last
what?
couple of years. I'm going to get to it.
Okay.
They should have had a plan to let the Browns go to Brook Park 5 years ago. Cool. Instead of renovating Progressive Field, you know what I would have done? I would have blew up the current First Energy Stadium. I would have built a retractable dome for the Cleveland Indians, Guardians to play at, right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Science Center. And
Where
that
the current
solves-
football field is.
That solves two problems. Attendance issues in April and May for the Guardians when the weather is crazy here. Summertime, you get your retractable roof on the lake for your concerts and things like that. And it helps generate more revenue and more money. Everybody know the Guardians has always been good enough or competitive enough, right? But you talk about the attendance side of things. One of the reasons why attendance is down is because who in the hell is going to a Guardians game in April and May when the weather is
And
horrible?
even this year in June.
Or
Yeah.
even this year.
It's been
And so
horrible.
it's just like better
I
proper
don't
planning.
hate that idea.
No, it's not.
Proper planning
Yeah.
a long time ago would have
Yeah.
would have set every franchise up to be in a better situation now.
I don't hate that.
I
Earl.
like that idea.
I don't hate that.
I do think attendance would be better if they had more of a commitment to signing long-term deals to their popular players.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yes, the weather factors in as well.
It does.
Certainly early
It kills our April and May gates.
Yeah,
It kills them.
Yeah.
September it's still pretty good.
Yeah, right.
I've been to some games in October there where you need gloves and hand warmers.
Right.
But I don't really hate that idea. Quickly,
That would be cool.
I know we got to pivot because we've got some super chats. Last point, and this is a little off topic, but it appears that Cleveland's City Council, Cuyahoga County Council now has finally gotten off the idea of trying to fight this move. The council, outside of Chris Ronayne, all got together and said, we've got to support this thing. Because, when the dam break is inevitable, you get the hell out of the way.
I hear you.
You don't stand there with an umbrella.
I
and
still
Chris
hate
Ronayne's
that any state money is going to this.
No one hates it more than me. I can't stand it. I hate the way all of that went down. It's seedy, it's dirty, it's unethical, it's sick.
But there's no point in fighting.
You're not going to stop it. So if you're Chris Ronayne, stop worrying about the girl that left you and start looking for the new girl. And here's the new girl. Implode that stadium because, by the way, Indian burial ground, former dump, whatever it was, it's cursed. It's cursed. What have they ever done or won there? Nothing. So it's cursed. Get rid of it. Put a 30,000-seat outdoor music venue right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You serve a lot of masters with that. One of the reasons they take the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies and take it to L.A. and New York is because where are we going to put the shows?
Right, yeah.
If you've got a 30,000-seat venue built for concerts, they stay in Cleveland every year. We get that money every year.
Could it be a sports stadium too, where you can play soccer?
No, I don't want it to be a sports stadium, and here's why.
Yeah.
I want 60 outdoor music venues there a year, dates. So, and you can do that you've got 100 days between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Yeah.
You do 3 a week. You do shows. Right now, you know what we do? We get in our cars, we sit in traffic for 2 hours, and we go to Blossom to watch these outdoor shows.
That's true.
And then when we leave, there's a two-lane road, and we get home at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Put it right down there. All of the people that work downtown now can use the land bridge and walk right over and enjoy top-name musical acts.
More restaurants there, too.
And here's where I'm going with that. Yeah. In football, you get, I'm going to say 9 home dates a year. Some years you don't. Mm-hmm. But you get 9 days a year. And you get 60,000 fans there. But you know what those 60,000 fans do? They don't come down and eat dinner before or after the game. It's a Sunday. Yeah. They come down, they drink their own beer in the Muni lot or in tailgates. They go to the game, and they go home. The vast majority of them leave $0.00 in the city of Cleveland. I know that still, if 10,000 stick around and go to bars and eat, that's a big windfall for all those restaurants. But if instead of having 9 days of 60,000 fans, you have 30 days, or 60 days rather, of 30,000 fans, that doubles the amount of people. And it's not just on Sundays when people want to get in and get out. It's on a Tuesday night.
Right.
They want to eat dinner and go to have drinks afterwards. Yeah. Friday night, Saturday night. Forget the Browns. Let them go to Brook Park. I hope they have great success there.
And
build something there that people want to go to.
And redevelop that airport for more restaurants, more housing.
Bingo.
Have people build a nice boardwalk there on the lake.
And get the other side of the lake.
I think that Mayor Bibb, by the way, is the guy to do it.
Let's go.
I do. I think he's going to get it done.